Yeah. All right. Welcome. Recapture, reallocate. This is a live workshop. Now, this one will be a little less interactive than future ones. I'll explain why, and it will be archived. So you will have an opportunity to come back and see this one. Future workshops, you will not. And there's a reason for that. Recapture, reallocate workshop number 1. There's going to be a ton of iterations of this. This one in particular, the currency is money. So if you went through the other recapture, reallocate trainings, there are multiple currencies, and you could have your own that people often miss. So 2 acronyms: timer, time, identity, money, energy, reputation. If you understand currencies, you can create leverage, meaning you may have a whole bunch of time and not a lot of money. Somebody else has a whole bunch of money and not a lot of time. You can make a trade where both parties feel like they're getting an unfair deal because they have so much money, they don't mind giving you some of it. And you have so much time, you don't mind giving it. And you can't believe how much money they're giving you, and they can't believe how much time they're getting. So timer, time, identity, money, energy, reputation. Tammy is the one that Joe Polish uses: time, attention, money, effort, energy. There's an infinite number of currencies you could come up with. You could say, I bias just joy, just being happy, and you may measure that currency, and you may want to recapture joy and reallocate it. You don't really have to reallocate it, you just recapture it. So the main reason we're focused on time or money this time is that it's the default currency that most people believe is going to solve their problems. That may or may not be true. It's also the easiest to measure. It's the least esoteric. It's very straightforward. We all know how to measure money. The second core workshop will be time. Okay. So for many people, getting their time back allows them to do many things, like make more money. A lot of reasons people want to make more money is because they believe it'll buy their time back, and they don't realize they could just recapture the time right now without making the money, because you got to spend time to make money to buy your time back. So it's a step forward, step back type thing. So we're going to focus primarily in these public workshops on money and time, because those are the things that most people are hemorrhaging that they can recapture right away. The third one, I'm just going to plant this seed for those of you that are nonlinear like myself. The third one that we want to recapture and reallocate is production capacity, the capacity to produce. What that means is you may strategically move currencies around in order to be able to produce more of the desired currency later. For example, okay, I have no time. I don't have a whole lot of time. I want to make a little bit more money, and I'm an accountant. Well, as an accountant, you can go get your CPA degree, which costs time and money, but it allows you a greater earning capacity for the rest of your life. So it's a little bit longer term, a little bit more dynamic, but there's always production capacity, where most of the time when you train an assistant, you're trying to get your time back, but you're actually increasing your production capacity because you're spending time in order to have more time later. You're also spending money to have more time later. More esoteric, we're going to focus on time and money, and specifically today, money. So the pre-work, you should have watched the Recapture, Reallocate workshop and workbook videos. If not, they're free. Go get them. They're archived. They're in the Success Finder and or YouTube, wherever you want to find them. Actually, all of our content is free, which I'll explain probably today as well. We have our tiers. The free stuff, all the content is free. Okay. So the tiers are really just the amount of structure, which is, do you really want to learn? Do you really want to have the infrastructure to do the reps? These workshops are a good example. We're going to do a ton of them inside of the tiers, which is, yes, I'm going to do the repetition. Yeah. But the content, if you can take it and watch it for free as many times as you want. Healthy, wealthy, wise. Those are the pillars we stand on. When we're recapturing and reallocating, generally speaking, we're trying to accomplish one of these things. TGA mission, for those of you that don't know or haven't heard it before, all we're trying to do, and this is a long-winded way of getting there, is increase your intelligence which is it's an interesting claim, because what the hell does that mean, right? Increase your intelligence, which means we want to increase your ability of getting what you want. So if we say, hey, we're going to increase your intelligence, it's not like our information is going to make you know more stuff. You don't need to know more stuff. You need to take the stuff that you know and be able to apply it in a way that you're able to get what you want. So that's what our whole entire thing is. So all of the structure, all the content, all these workshops is to help you take the stuff you know and apply it in a way and get what you want. What do we call that? We call that learning. So we want to make you more intelligent by learning. That's it. Really important that that's explicit, so that you don't think we're going to put something crazy in you that doesn't exist already. We're not. We're going to provide a structure for you to learn. What is learning? Learning is, the way we define it, is same circumstance, different behavior. So if you have a very hard time keeping your cool when you're arguing with your spouse and it's causing all kinds of problems and it's ruining your life, and you go learn how to communicate, you go learn, quote unquote, learn, which means you know stuff now. The next time you argue with your spouse, you blow up and make it worse, which means same circumstance, same behavior. You didn't learn anything. You know a bunch of words, but you didn't learn anything. What we want to do is make sure that this structure means when you run into the same circumstance, you have a different behavior. Then you have learned something. Okay. So recapture, reallocate is all about first identifying, all right, so I'm hemorrhaging these resources because that's what I've been doing. And it's great. We're going to go back. We're going to recapture it. We're going to reallocate it. And then you got to go back and do it again and again and again and again until it becomes the way that you behave under these circumstances. A bunch of one-offs is not going to get you there. That's why we're going to have a bunch of workshops. Yeah. So if you don't do the work, or you only do the work once, you pass the test and move on and never come back to it, you're not learning. So I want to make that explicit, because I don't want anybody thinking they walk away here with a silver bullet. It is a silver bullet if you consistently apply it and your behavior is modified accordingly, more specifically in a way that gets you the things that you want out of life, because that's the whole point. All right, so the future workshop structure, this one's a little bit different. I'm teaching this one. I'm leading this one. The future workshop structure, when everybody gets here, immediately going to break out. We're in breakout rooms. If we do this in person, which we will, you get into groups and share. You're going to share your 6-word update, which means if you didn't do the work, you're going to be sitting around all confused and have nothing to share, because this is a continuum, right? Like, should be doing it all the time. So you should share, hey, I recaptured, reallocated this. Here's what I learned in 6 words. Here's some examples of 6-word updates regarding recapture and reallocate. Know which currency you're optimizing for. Optimize for time, money, energy, reputation. Figure solvable problem, case that resource. Right? This is just taking complex things and distilling it down into something actionable. That's all a 6-word update is. And then a case in point, which means you go out in your groups and you'll give your 6-word update, and then you'll give a case in point in the form of a statement. Last week, last month, last year, earlier today, whatever, I recaptured $3,000 a year that I can now reallocate to, I don't know, my mortgage on a second home, whatever it is you want. And you're going to go around, you're going to share. And then each group is going to decide which is the most powerful case in point, so that when we come back together, you're going to share that with everybody. This is a collective momentum thing, because somebody's going to go, holy shit, why didn't I think of that? Okay, so we say it all the time, wisdom comes from multiple perspectives. We're just taking the concept, recapture, reallocate, in this case, money, and we're going to get together, we're going to share. And if you come unprepared, that's okay. You just say, pass, I'm not prepared. You can still participate, you can still listen in and hear what other people are doing. There's a level of accountability there, because nobody wants to show up and be like, yeah, okay, so I don't have anything to contribute to the group. As you know, our method is built on closer over more. So everything's going to be framed in that context. You don't have to be oriented that way. You can be oriented however you want. But we're always going to say reallocate it to the thing that matters. If you just want more, use as much as possible, put it in a compounding calculator and make the number huge, fine. We're not going to provide a ton of support for that outside of what we already do. So if your orientation is different, take what is useful, leave the rest. Just know that's how we're oriented, which means we're going to refer to the solvable problem. If you don't want to do the solvable problem, if you haven't gone through that, it's all free. Go find it. If nothing else, to get the most out of recapturing and reallocating, you do have to define the things that matter most to you. 1 to 3 things. If you say, I have 32 priorities, you don't have any priorities. So that when we recapture, we say, okay, I found $5,000 a year just slipping through the cracks and dumb shit that I don't do anymore, or I don't use anymore. We also immediately say $5,000 a year that I can now put to the most important thing. It's really important because it's like, especially with time, if you find an extra 2 hours a day and you don't immediately build a system to reallocate it to something important, you will fill it up with another stupid thing. And you're going to have to keep recapturing that time over and over and over. So that's why we define priorities. Your priorities are your priorities. Nobody's going to judge you here, but we need to have a system to say, okay, I got this back. Now let's immediately reallocate it to the thing that matters most. You will be shocked at how quickly the things that you thought were far away, you acquire them. Laurel is a great example. I already shared her story in the previous video. She wanted the beach house in 5 years. It took her 3 weeks. All we did was recapture, reallocate. That's all we did. Didn't make a whole bunch more money, which is what she thought she had to do. Recapture, reallocate. You'll be amazed at just how many little holes there are in the leaky bucket that you just plug the hole and all of a sudden the water fills up a lot faster. Speaking of water, waterfall method. This is explained in resource allocation, but just know I'm always going to recommend recapturing and reallocating to the number 1 priority. If you're not willing to do that, if I say, okay, here's $5,000 extra, fund that number 1 priority, and in your gut, you're like, oh yeah, but I don't really want to. It's not actually your number 1 priority. So you need to be honest with yourself. It's probably the thing that you feel good saying. You know, people are always like, yeah, you know, my number 1 priority is pay down my student debt. And then, you know, after that, I'd like to buy a house. And when it comes down to it, they really just want a house. They just think they're supposed to say student debt is their number 1 priority. So they're violating their own economic and personal principles all the time because they're not being honest about them. So waterfall simply means fund the most important things first. And if you're not willing to, they're probably not the most important things. So reconcile that with yourself. The end result, this is all we want to get out of these workshops. Now, I put out a lot of stuff. It's really esoteric and advanced and nonlinear and, you know, probably sounds crazy. This is all we want out of these workshops. I have recaptured blank currency that I can now reallocate to priority. If you sit down and you do that once a month, your life will change significantly. It's that simple. All the other stuff I talk about, all the reasons why it works, all the reasons why we don't do it, all that's great. But all we want here is I have recaptured X amount of dollars per year that I can now reallocate to thing that matters. And if you actually record this by the end of the year, you're gonna be like, holy shit, I'm going to get there 2 years faster now. Or in Laurel's case, 5 years faster. It's that simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Do the work. So we see here, this is inside the Guardian Academy community. There's a channel called Recapture Reallocate. This is what's come in over the last 48 hours. Savings $45,000 a year. You're going to see that with businesses. I've seen $50,000, $60,000, $100,000. I've seen $50,000 a month going down the drain in recurring. Just everybody on the team buys the software. They test it all. They choose to use one software, but they keep paying for the other ones. Savings $1,619 a year. In the statement, I've recaptured $1,619 a year to reallocate toward my base case, which is long-term investment. And then you see time, like I will recapture 21 hours per week. It's very meaningful to people. This is an advanced one. This is an example of being able to really like hop between currencies and make the connection. And I know who this was. This was Pam. and she's a CFO, so of course she can. Minimum of 2 hours per week and work identified and delegated. So she just sat down, finally did the work. Total of 100 hours or more annually. Now, because she knows her average bill rate, she knows that she has recaptured $200,000 of value. So she didn't recapture $200,000 in cash. She got $200,000 of time. So if you know like your billing rate or your hourly rate, then you can recapture time and assign a dollar value to it. Or vice versa. You can recapture dollars, right? And then understand that you can now buy that time back. So that's an advanced. Pam's really smart. And here 90 minutes of time per podcast episode. So if we assume one podcast a week, it's 90 minutes a week. It's not insignificant. This was all sitting there in plain sight. You know how many people are dying? Like, what would they do to make $200,000? Well, sit down and recapture, reallocate. It might be sitting there. It may not, but we have to do the work first. And so why do we do this? I just kind of alluded to it. Why recapture and reallocate, which we call optimize before you maximize? There's a mathematical reason why. There's an efficiency reason why. There's a risk reason why. All signs point to you should recapture and reallocate before trying to get more. Now, I'm going to show you a little bit of math. I'm not going to go super deep into it because it's not important that we know the math right now. It's important that we do the work. So 2 examples, one business, one personal. A business. So if you're a business owner, how many business owners do we have in here? Just let me know in the chat. Just put like a 1 in the chat. If you're a business owner, you get a double dip because you can do this for your business, then you can do it for yourself. There we go, business owners. So if you operated a 25% profit margin, you can change the number, you can do the math. You operate a 25% profit margin and you recapture $5,000 a month, which is very, very common in businesses. Typically, we see way more than that because we spend so much money on business activities. Or that's $60,000 a year. Okay. But it's not. It's not the way that most people think about it. Because if you recapture $5,000 a month, that is the equivalent of $20,000 in sales. Right? Because if only 25% profit margins, when you recapture $5,000, it's pure profit. In order to get $5,000 in pure profit, you would have to sell an extra $20,000 a month or $240,000 a year. So recapturing $5,000 a month is the equivalent of adding $240,000 a year in terms of cash flow, in terms of profits. So it's clearly more efficient. It's not as sexy as like a Stripe screenshot, but it's far more efficient because how much extra time and money is it going to cost to market, sell, and deliver on these additional services? Right? It becomes less and less efficient the more and more you need to push top line. So that's one example. Second one is personal. Let's say you pay 25% tax. I know some people pay more than that. Some people pay less than that, just as an example. And you make $30 an hour. I think most people here probably make more than that. If you make less than that, it's perfectly fine. Same exercise. And you recapture $350 a month. That's very easy to do. Very, very easy to do. That is the equivalent of an additional $466 a month, $466 a month, or almost $6,000 a year in income. So it's 46.6 hours a year recaptured. And if you are an hourly worker, that's pretty significant. You could choose to take that much time off and make the same, or work the same and make that much more. Up to you. So just thinking about recapturing $500 is not the same as making $500. It is so much better. It is so much better, right? You don't pay taxes on capital you recaptured. You already did. So hopefully that makes sense and kind of illustrates the why it's so powerful to recapture first. I know it's really compelling to make more. And there's a time when that makes a whole lot of sense, but not until you've recaptured what is already sitting there. Okay, so recapturing and reallocating is the most efficient way to close the gap. Should be step one. Will you need to make more? Maybe. It's very possible. But until you have recapture, reallocate, and have developed the skill, meaning your behavior has changed on an ongoing basis, as long as you are earning more, it's like you're going out, you're working your ass off to fill this bucket with water, and it's a leaky bucket. So you have to work twice as hard for twice as long to keep the bucket full. We're just plugging the holes here. Okay, so each workshop like this, we're going to give you homework. We'll go breakout rooms. We'll go case in points. We'll use collective momentum, work together as a community, help each other come up with things we never would have thought of on our own. And then a piece of homework. Little piece of just one thing, because all we want is that statement. Right? I recaptured this that I can reallocate to that. This is the live to learn piece. If you do not do the homework, that's fine. You're not going to get the outcome that you expect. If you go, okay, yes, I understand this totally, and then you never do it, you didn't learn anything. You don't understand it. You think you do, but you live to learn. That's how we learn. In the next workshop, we open up with the 6-word update and the case in point, and that's the giving to earn. You earn a lot of things. One, you're contributing to everybody else. Everybody else is going to be that much more likely to contribute to you. Two, as you learn these things and you actually do them, there's potential earning power. Like these are the things, if you have a business and you make a living selling stuff, give to earn does not mean give everything away for free. It means if you're going to earn money off of service, then you better be doing it yourself. Live to learn, give to earn. All right. So here's the homework for today. Very, very simple. It's called the 2 Oreo principle. And I'll give you guys this link in a follow-up email. Okay. I'm going to break down the 2 Oreo principle for you way worse than Dan does. This is from Dan Nicholson. Dan's whole thing is, if you eat like 2 Oreos a day, it doesn't seem like much, but it compounds over time. Recurring expenses are the same way. Recurring expenses will kill your bank account, just like a couple Oreos a day will make you a little bit thicker in the midsection than you want to be. And you won't understand how it's happening because it's such a small thing. And so that's the 2 Oreo principle. So we'll say 2 Oreo principle. What we're really saying is, hey, death by 1,000 paper cuts. What are the little things that are flying under the radar, but they are compounding to be significant? Just be aware of them. So this episode, Dan breaks down the 2 Oreo principle, the podcast episode. And here's the homework. I strongly encourage everybody to do it. Even if you just did it 2 months ago, do it again. You'll be shocked at how many expenses you pick up. I do it all the time. I'm like trying to watch the Seahawks and they're not playing on, my streaming service. So I signed up for like 6 other streaming services, trying to figure out which one is playing the game. And I forget about it. Now I'm paying for like 6 streaming services. Stuff like that. First, identify all recurring expenses. There's a few ways to do this. I'll give you the shortcut, which most people won't do. You could pull your bank statements and look for all your recurring expenses. Now, the trick is the ones that really get you are yearly. Remember when you signed up for yearly because of the big discount? That's not going to show up on your last couple statements. It's just going to hit you with $300 out of nowhere. So you can also plug into softwares, Mint and stuff like that, and they will tell you your recurring charges. Here's what I do. Dan recommends just canceling your credit card or your debit card. Is it a pain in the ass because you got to opt back into all the stuff? Yes, but it's very, very powerful to have to opt back into something instead of just letting it ride because it's easy. Okay, so that's one. The second one, the one that I actually do, I don't cancel my debit and credit cards. My team knows this though. Privacy.com. You can spin up unlimited number of debit cards for each vendor. So if there's a recurring payment like streaming service, I spin up a debit card just for that service. I'll spin up another debit card just for this service. Super easy, couple clicks, And then all I have to do is go to my privacy.com dashboard and go close all the cards I'm not using. Very, very simple. You can do it however you want. Just be aware the yearly ones will get you. Okay. Cancel every expense that is not critical. If you go, yeah, but there's some chance I might watch that next month. It's not critical. If you really want to, you will opt back in next month, and that's okay. Right? There's that saying, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Opposite is true for expenses. It is better to not have it and need it because you can go buy it again. Otherwise, it'll add up. So cancel every expense that's not critical in your business. Will our business completely collapse if I get rid of this? If not, get rid of it. You can always sign back up. It's always an option. And then add them up. So if you canceled $30 a month, annualize it, $360 a year. If you're paying annual, it's already annual. Add it up and annualize it. And then let's say it's, I don't know, it depends. If it's personal, you might be in the thousands or less. If it's business, it could be absurdly large. Right then and there, make the commitment and earmark it to allocate it to the number one priority. So before you go into your business, say, what is the most important? What is the number one priority for our business? Well, we really need to hire like 2 more executive admins. Okay. Recapture, go through the exercise, and right then and there, commit to and earmark it to hire 2 executive admins, or it will get sucked up by something else. If it's personal, same thing. Say, okay, well, I'm on track to retire by the time I'm 50, and I'd really like to get that down to 45. Then you take that and you reallocate that to retirement. And I'll show you something really cool. I don't know if I left it in here. But remember, similar to this math, when you recapture $350, it's not the same as making $350. If your time horizon is long enough, and so if you have a longer time horizon, then recapturing $1,000 is not $1,000, because you can put that $1,000 somewhere where it gains interest. So that $1,000 now is actually worth more than $1,000 in the future. So as you recapture, reallocate, not only do you have compounding interest, but you have compounding investments into that whatever that vehicle is. Everybody knows what my vehicle is. You have your own. It's fine. So the longer the time preference, the more powerful recapture and reallocating is. Then all I want you to do is to make your statement. Now, let me tell you this, because I can say this because these are my workshops. I don't think I'd let anybody else say this, like the team. So Randy, don't try. If you're not, this seems elementary. I get it. We talk to people all the time, and they think they're super advanced, and they're not. And the reason they're not super advanced is because they don't consistently do the basics. All advanced is consistent application of the basics. It's not different stuff. It's the same stuff consistently. So I'm going to say, make your statement. I have recaptured X number of dollars per year to reallocate to Y. And if you can't make that statement because you're just too lazy to write it down, or you think it's a silly exercise or whatever, I get it. This would explain a lot of maybe where some of your struggles are coming from. It's this, oh, no, I already get it. I don't need to do it. Well, maybe you should start doing the things that you already know that you need to do, and things tend to improve from there. So make your statement. Now, if you're in the Gardening Academy, it's incredibly helpful to everybody else. If you go into the Recapture Reallocate channel and you share your statement, because I promise people are watching, and it's going to give somebody the perspective they need. They may have a different thing, but the way that you post it, they go, oh shit, I could do that too. This is collective momentum. This is wisdom coming from multiple perspectives. And this is essentially because you all live different lives. We're not in a classroom. And it's really important. I'm going to touch on this for a minute. We're not in a classroom. In a classroom, you all pay tuition and you all get the same education because you're sitting in the classroom and it's controlled and it's basically in a vacuum. There's not a lot of contact with reality. In the Garden Academy and good masterminds and stuff like that, you may all pay tuition, but there is an opportunity to get a far greater education because you're out there in the world. So we don't have this little controlled classroom where we're all taking the same test. Joseph, I'm just looking at names I can see. Joseph's going to see this. He's going to go do some shit that none of us are doing. His work is different than our work. His business is different. His life is different. And then Jennifer is going to go out and recapture, reallocate something else. And then if they put them in the same place, you see how there's exponentially greater benefit to more people, a wider variety of people, because we're taking this classroom concept, but we're applying it to the real world where there's a contact with reality. And if we come back and we share it, the benefits are exponentially greater than they would be if we were sitting in a classroom and I was going to test you guys on this. So make your statement, do it for yourself. And then if you choose, okay, live to learn, do it for yourself. Then if you choose, give to earn, share it with others. If it's helpful to you and you have a group of people that you coach, you have constituents, give it to them. I don't care. They don't have to be in the Garden Academy. And that's giving to earn. You will earn reputation, you will earn goodwill. And if you want to charge them for it, because that's what you do, you will earn money. All good. But do the work before you take anybody's money or tell anybody else to do anything. All right. So there's not actually a form here. Do not go there right now, but maybe if you catch this replay, there'll be a form there. What we would like to do is really get these workshops rolling somewhat consistently, and we'll have a time one and a money one, and see collectively how much capital can we recapture? How much time can we recapture? Can we recapture millions of dollars for people? Now, we're not doing it for you. Can you recapture millions of dollars for yourselves? Can we recapture years and years and years worth of time? Like, that's what we want to see for collective impact. It's just data. So you can put it in the channel. We'll have a form and we will ask you, like, hey, do the work. It's not like we're not in elementary school. I don't need proof that you did it. There should be proof that you did it because you should have done it. But this is really just contributing to everything else. So we'll ask you to contribute, fill out the form, and we really want to get a measure of collective impact. And there's a bunch of ways to do that. Recapturing money is one of them. Recapturing time is one of them. There's a million other ways. Making more money, finding more time, connections, all that stuff. And we want to find ways to measure it. So next time, don't have a date yet because we got to coordinate this. Do the work. Do it multiple times. Like, you can recapture, reallocate from your bank statements, and then you can look at your calendar and just start recapture, allocating time. And then you can look at, other places where your resources are going, recapture, allocate. But do the money one. Come up with your statement. If you can, come to the next workshop with a 6-word update for your group and a case in point. So you can say, this is what I did. And it might seem simple already in the recapture, allocate. People be like, well, this isn't very significant, but, and then they share. And I'm like, holy shit, that's super significant. Don't discount your work. Like, just doing the work is significant. Most people don't. Okay. So remember this. I just filmed a whole video. I already put it in the Success Finder. I haven't shared it outside of there yet. Learning requires many reps. Many reps. You're not going to do it once and then think you know it. 3 years from now, you'll be hemorrhaging resources left and right. Okay. So it requires many reps. So keep this in mind. For those of you that fancy yourselves learners, students, always improving, et cetera, this is as much about mastering the skill of recapturing and reallocating as it is about actually the amount of resources that you recover. You might recover $300 and think it's not a big deal. And then you do it next week and it's like 30. Cool. I recaptured $30. What's the point? Well, the point is, if you develop this skill, you will save yourself hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in the future because you will have the skill. So it's something to think about. Just, it's not like a one-off, you're done. I mean, it can be. I recommend that you think about it as mastering the skill, do the reps. Recapture, reallocate. There was nothing to recapture. Okay, that's fine. You did the rep. Recapture, reallocate. $32. Is this going to move the needle? $32 won't move the needle, but mastering the skill of recapture and reallocating will, because as things happen in life, you will start to be able to apply it to all these other areas and you will become hyper efficient, even if you only recovered $12. So think of it that way. Takes many, many reps. That's what learning is about. So these workshops might seem frequent and you don't have to come to all of them, but I already did that. I don't have anything to share. Participate as much as possible until you feel like you have really mastered the skill and it's just part of the way that you operate, and then move on or come to contribute. But when you see this bronze here, this is the bronze level Guardian Academy. The bronze level is all about frequency. It's about mastering the skill, mastering mastery, and learning to learn. So yeah, I'm going to beat a dead horse here, but it's a lot of times people want to finish the course. They buy a course and they're like just trying to get to the end. And they've robbed themselves of actually learning all of the contents within the course, because nobody goes back and watches like video 1 every week for a year, which if you were truly trying to get good at something, that's what you would do. Anybody have like a black belt? Or anybody ever want to be a best-selling author? You know what you do? You sit down and you write the same shit sometimes over and over and over, sometimes for decades. And so that's my recommendation, is think of these workshops as skill mastery. Yes, you're gonna be introduced to some knowledge. You haven't learned anything yet. You're going to apply it. Now you're learning. Okay. Once your default is, I need more money. Where can I recapture it? Once that's your default, you've learned it. And it takes time to get there. So that's where we live, me, Dan, my partners. Our first thing is like, we need 50 grand for this thing. Cool. Where's it slipping through the cracks? It always is. I mean, we're pretty good at it, but it's always picking up recurring payments and stuff. So think about mastering this skill, not about doing the exercise and being done. Live to learn, give to earn, share your 6-word update. I'll put this in here for you guys. All the trainings I referred to, I'll put them in the chat right here. And I'll send an email with all this. Yeah, it's, what is it? Fear not the man that knows 1,000 kicks, but the man that has practiced one kick 1,000 times. That's all it is. And for some reason, we think like, I did that kick once. Now I got to learn a new one. So I'm like super deadly. There's your 6-word. If you have a 6-word update, you could drop it right there as a comment. And if somehow you're not in the Guardian Academy and you just want to join the community, get the announcements, I'll put that in the chat as well. Right. So let me see here. Try to get that done as quickly as possible. We probably have about 10 minutes. If Randy, you want to stop the recording, and then we'll just see if anybody has any questions. I don't want to record your guys' questions or faces and plaster those all over the internet and stuff.